Hello, this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Well, I actually have been able to listen to the 911 call in the Idaho 4 case, and in doing so I was able to tell that there's some errors made in the transcript, and man, what a horrifying situation that was for all of them. You can hear absolutely frantic. The text doesn't do anybody any justice whatsoever in terms of trying to figure out, how somebody's feeling, etc. So we'll just go through the transcript manually right now again, and I'll show you where there were words that they didn't get correct when they transcribed it. All right, so we got and some of the text in here isn't in the 911 call because they actually pieced together different calls in an order. So there might have been different audio file from a different agency, etc., and they put those in there. And I think I can kind of remember which parts are not in there, but it says like 911 location of your emergency. And then Dylan says, "Hi, something's happening." I mean, she's really, really upset. "Something's happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what we have." And then the 911 operator is very callous sounding. She's just like, yeah. What is your address of the emergency? And then 1122, and it says no don't. There is a no don't, but there's some time in there, right? It isn't where it's immediately saying. It's like 1122, and then no don't. We don't know what she's saying. And then what is the rest of the address? And then she says, King Road. Okay, and is that a house or an apartment? "It's a house," Dylan said. "Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?" And then a neighbor came in, and she said, "I'll talk to you guys. We live at the right, so we're next to them. I need someone to repeat the address for verification." And then this neighbor said, "The address is 1122 King Road." And the operator said, "And what's the phone number of that you're calling from?" And then we don't hear in the 911 call this portion here. I don't know if they just sort of edited it out a block. We also don't hear the word okay. And then it just starts up right here where it says, "And tell me exactly what's going on." And then the neighbor said, one of our, probably you're going to say one of our friends, and it said, "One of the roommates who's passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up." And then you can hear Dylan say something in the background like, "No, we saw," and then the operator says, "Okay." And then the neighbor, picking up on what Dylan said, "Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night, yeah." And then Dylan said, "Hi, this is Dylan." You can actually hear her say that underneath the operator's voice. "This is Dylan." So literally, that is Dylan, just like we predicted. "And are you with the patient?" "Okay, I need someone to keep the phone. Stop passing it around." That's what she sounds like. Like, "Hey, okay, I need someone to keep the phone. Stop passing it around." She's really agitated sounding, the 911 operator. And then Dylan says in a really upset voice, "Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?" And then the operator says, "What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?" So this is exactly what we were saying, is that she was trying to get the story out and tell the operator what the hell happened last night, but the operator didn't want to listen to it. And of course the operator wouldn't want to sit there and talk about what happened last night when she's trying to help somebody who is passed out. So that's her main concern originally in this call. And then Dylan says, "I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m. And then she's really, really upset. And it says, "Okay, I need to know what's going on right now. If someone is passed out, can you find that out?" So then it says, "Yeah, I'll come. Come on. We got to go check." And then she says, "But we have to," responding to somebody in the background. You cannot hear them saying anything. But 9 seconds after that is when Dylan asked whoever went up there, is she passed out?" Then there's 6 seconds later, someone says either yes or dead. It's hard to tell. It's like, yeah, like that. And then 6 seconds after that, Dylan says, passed out, what's wrong? She says, passed out, what's wrong? You know, she's really upset about what's going on. So we just read that portion, but it's a lot different than how this portrays it right here. I mean, it's similar, but there's other words like passed out, what's wrong, is what Dylan says, and there's this whole bunch of time in between. Then the dispatching Moscow Law Ambulance 4, we don't hear that. And then Dylan says, she's not waking up. That is heard. And then I'm not sure we can hear unconsciousness, 1122 King Road. And then 70 is en route, we don't hear that. Then the operator said, okay, one moment, I'm getting help started that way. And then Dylan, which wasn't even put in here, says, thank you. It doesn't say, okay, maybe. It says, thank you. Okay, thank you. It says, okay, thank you. That's what I'm trying to get at. It doesn't say, okay, maybe. I mean, I don't know where the hell they came up with that one. Then it says, what's wrong? She says out loud, which isn't even written here at all, says, what's wrong, in a high-pitched, upset voice, then 23 seconds of deep breathing, literally sounding like this. She is freaking out, and then she whispers something that sounds like she says, poor Kaylee. And then a male said, get out, let's get out. Now, Dylan likely had, because she had tried calling Kaylee and Madison, she might have even said Madison, but there's a word that's unintelligible after she says, poor Kaylee, so she might even say Madison as well. And, she tried calling them, so likely now that she knows that there's something really, really wrong with Xana, that something bad happened upstairs, and it could be that one of the roommates had gone upstairs as well and said, hey, there's somebody, something's going on up there as well. We don't know, but either way, she sounds like she says, poor Kaylee, and then a male says, get out, let's get out. So I think what we're looking at is in the house at 1122 King Road. Let's go in here for a second. I think that they were basically outside the front of the house, down here, talking to 911, and then when they went into the house, basically, so that's the front door right there that's open. And then Dylan was likely still like in this area, letting the other people go to the room, and then they checked in the room, and then we're like, oh, let's get out, and then they all start making their way down the stairs. You can actually hear the steps on the stairs going back down. So I think that's exactly what's going on there. And then the operator says, 1122 King Road, all ambulance respond for unconsciousness. Now, I don't think we can hear that part. And then the I copy, we can't hear that either. So she must be saying that on a different line. Then the operator says, we don't even hear the multiple RPs on the phone advise saying the roommate on the scene. We don't hear that. We don't hear being around. That part's not on there. And then this thing right here, it says that one I copy about a 20-year-old female. So this might be out of order because that's not on the 911 call. So after this was said, that was probably said, and they put it out of order. Okay, so that's incorrect right there. And then copy, yeah, and we don't even hear this, yeah, it's Evan. We should, because that should be on the 911 call. He's the one in the room there. And then Dylan says, okay, and how old is she? She's 20. 20, you said? Yes, 20. Here, do you want to talk to him? This is when Dylan is handing the phone to Evan. And then this okay right here is not on audio. You cannot hear it on the 911 call. And then Evan says, hello, or whoever this is. It might be Evan, I don't know. But it says, hello, and it sounds almost exactly like my AI voices that I used when I put the dialogue to text. I mean, it's unbelievable how similar it sounded. And it says, okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people. I mean, you could sense her agitation even without listening to it and just reading it. And then the male says, okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone. Is she breathing? The operator asks to the male on the phone. And then the male on the phone says, hello. Is she breathing? No. The operator says, okay. And then this part that says unintelligible en route. We don't hear that at all. Oh, there is like a little bit of audio in the background that says en route, but we can't hear what it says just before en route, just like they have there. And then the person on the phone, maybe it's Evan, said, Bethany or Dylan, the transcript says, Bethany or Dylan, I need you to talking to them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them. But what I hear is, Bethany or Dylan, I need you to talk to them. Say I can't talk to them. Say you need to talk to them. Meaning, I think they're saying that the operator told him that he can't talk to them and he needs them to talk to them. You know, but it's different wording. It's just not the same as what they had. And then Dylan says, okay, hello. So Dylan grabbed the phone after the individual, maybe Evan, handed her the phone. So then the operator says, okay, I've already sent ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. Then Dylan said, okay. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. Units responding, RP advising. And then Dylan said, say that again? There is police here right now. See, that wasn't unintelligible. It was very simple to understand, so I'm not sure why it wasn't there. Then the operator says, patient is not conscious, not breathing. Now, I don't remember if that's audible or not. Okay, if there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. We don't have one. Unconscious, not breathing, the operator said. Do you have a defibrillator? Yep. And so that's Dylan asking the officer who just showed up, do you have a defibrillator? And you hear the male voice said, yep. Yes, we have one, is what Dylan said back to the operator. But are you talking to the operator? Is what the operator said to Dylan. And Dylan said, yes. And then the operator said, okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you. And then Dylan said, okay, thank you, bye. And then the operator said, okay, Moscow. And then we don't hear anything after okay. All of this is not in there because it's on different lines. But it's definitely not in the 911 transcript or, you know, the actual call itself. It's not in there. So this is just sort of a compilation of different audio files during that time. So that's why that confusion with the age being 20 is just out of place. It's not in the correct order there. But man, it's when you finally get to listen to it, I think it'll be, you might get to listen to it not too long from now. You'll realize that Dylan is just absolutely freaked out, and you can see exactly why she was in her room. I bet you she was like hyperventilating and that she was freaking out all night in her room after hearing what she heard, but she just didn't want to go out and verify for her own mind that something happened. I think she was just protecting her own sanity. She obviously thought she heard some stuff going on because 3 times Dylan opened her door and heard different things going on enough. The alarm must have gone off in her head strong enough where she thought, man, I'm going to open my door and look out. But if you notice, she didn't even leave her room. She just opened the door and listened because she probably didn't want to go around and be part of whatever was going on. Right? So she goes back in her room, and then again she opens it up that last time, and that's when Koberger with his bushy eyebrows walks by and takes a right and goes through the kitchen and then out the sliding glass door. So man, I actually really feel for both of them. And when you finally hear the call, you'll see how absolutely freaked out they are. And you know, we don't know if some of the roommates got there first and kind of were looking around to see what they could see already. But I don't know. It feels like they were all just kind of hanging out down below, and then eventually went up and they could see that she, you know, Xana wasn't doing well whatsoever. I mean, that she was not alive at that point. And, you know, when they went into that room, they probably could have seen Ethan in there, but we just don't know, right? We don't get to know. We don't get to interview the people. We're just listening to the 911 call, and Dylan never went into the room. She was just repeating things that were told back to her. But she could tell something really, really bad was going on, especially when that person said, get out, let's get out. Because then they knew somebody was dead at that point. All right. So I feel fortunate that I was able to listen to it. Absolutely freaky stuff. Nothing like reading it. I mean, one of the craziest comments I ever saw under one of my videos was, they seem so calm in the 911 call. And it's like, we haven't heard it. What are you talking about? That's just text. So it's almost like the voices that they put in their head of what it sounded like was reality, and it's not at all. That's why I didn't like my AI version, because I could tell it was just really bland sounding and generic, but at least it had different female and male voices assigned to different speakers in it. Okay? So I think you guys need to start looking differently at Dylan and Bethany Funk, all right? Because they had absolutely nothing to do with this. Thank you all very much for watching. When the actual audio file becomes public, maybe I'll get a copy of it and I'll be able to put it out there. All right, so thank you all very much for watching. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.